They've debriefed, they've made changes, they've even drawn on the expertise of a former coach. But will it be enough for the All Blacks to put out a performance they can be proud of in their second pool match? Kia ora, I'm Chereè Kinnear and this is Beyond the Game. Welcome into the New Zealand Herald's Rugby World Cup video news show. We're in Toulouse, right outside the stadium. The All Blacks will be playing Namibia tomorrow morning. New Zealand Herald chief sports writer Liam Napier joins me now. Liam, it's almost a week now since that opening loss to France. What will the team have worked on over this past week, and what will they be looking to have improved on in this next game?
Yeah, a week's a long time in sport. Thankfully it's cooled down a wee bit in Toulouse since we've moved on, but look, there'll be a long list of improvements from the All Blacks. They're clearly still hurting, and so they should be off the back of successive record defeats, their first World Cup pool loss. They'll be looking at their scrum, the breakdown, some of the kicking game, and big changes this week with 9 new faces coming into the mix. So I don't expect Namibia to test them too much, but yeah, the All Blacks need to get a win and they need to put in a really dominant performance. As you mentioned there, Ian Foster named his team 9 changes to a starting side. Cam Roigard gets his first start in the black jersey. Ardie Savea described him as a quiet assassin earlier this week. What do you think that means, and what can we expect to see from Cam? Yeah, we heard from Cam, didn't we, that he's an introvert, but he'll have to come out of his shell on the field. As a halfback, you've got to be barking orders and bossing the big boys around up front. So look, I've been really impressed by Cam Roigard. He provides a real point of difference for the All Blacks at halfback. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's got a great running game, and to start his third test after 2 tests off the bench sort of shows that he's really knocking on the door, and this is a real chance for him to crack the first choice 23. We heard from the man himself when he was named earlier this week, and here's what he had to say.
I'm always trying to develop my game, and we know how important communication is on the field as a game driver, so trying to, I suppose, be loud when I need to be loud, and using my voice is, I suppose, crucial in my position, and then I suppose trying to be myself off the field, which probably is a little bit introverted, but I've always been competitive and always trying to chase the people in my position, right from Super Rugby to where I am now in here. So I think that's a big part of my development, like you sort of touched on. And then I suppose what I sort of mentioned before, the ability to actually be myself, which is, although it's a little bit introverted, being competitive and trying to push myself and others around me is definitely a big part of I suppose trying to grow and be a better player.
It'll certainly be interesting to see what he can put out on the field tomorrow. Now, former coach Sir Steve Hansen, he made a surprise appearance at training earlier this week in his bucket hat and all. What sort of advice do you think he will have given to the team, and what impact does his presence make? Yeah, it's been an interesting month or so for Steve after going into Wallabies camp and causing quite the storm and coming back to the All Blacks. Look, Steve's never shy of giving out advice. He's got some great one-liners and a great eye for detail. He's very close with Ian Foster, having worked with him for the best part of 8 years. So I'm sure he's chipped in behind the scenes. He was in from sort of Sunday to Wednesday, so a decent chunk of time. I'm sure he cracked a few jokes and ribbed some of his former players as well. So I think the All Blacks would have welcomed his presence, probably lightened the mood, but also delivered a few home truths in his own way. Now, the All Blacks have used the word respect many times this week when speaking of their opponents, Namibia. What can we expect from their opponents, and what will success look like for the All Blacks in this game? Yeah, look, Namibia, this is the 3rd time the All Blacks have played them at World Cups. They've routed them every time, but they're a traditional, I guess, African nation. They're big, they'll be direct. They're yet to record a Rugby World Cup victory. They've got 7 players playing in their 3rd World Cup, and they actually had 2 players miss out because of visa issues on this tournament. So look, they lost to Italy their first up game by 50 points, so I would expect the All Blacks to win by 60, 70, but it's probably more about the performance than the result for the All Blacks. They need to amend some key areas of their game, the set piece and their discipline in particular, and just the accuracy. They need to get their mojo back on attack. They were a bit too conservative, a bit in their shells in the last quarter, so
they'll win, but then it's more about the performance and regaining some confidence after, you know, what's been a really tough month for them.
And we heard Namibia can be quite a physical team as well to play.
Yeah, I guess that's traditionally African, you know, big, strong men. A lot of them are playing the South African Curry Cup. They're a lot of them are from farming backgrounds, so, you know, working the land and you know, building muscle and, you know, eating boerewors sausage and having some braais, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they'll hold their own. They can scrum. That's one area they'll test the All Blacks, but I think as the match wears on, they won't be able to stick with them.
It'll be an interesting one to watch for sure. You can follow that game tomorrow morning, All Blacks versus Namibia, 7 a.m. Follow all the action at nzherald.co.nz and listen to live commentary on News Talk, ZB, Gold Sport and iHeartRadio. Thanks so much for your time and insight, Liam. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Elliot Smith after the game to unpack everything that unfolds. We'll see you then on Beyond the Game. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all the latest news from the New Zealand Herald. Click the subscribe button below or check out one of the videos here and head over to nzherald.co.nz for more details on these stories and more.